I'm ready for a new challenge. I'm open to trying something new. Bayern Munich is a huge club. It's an institution in the world of football. And this may be the right chance for me at the age of 28 now for me to move on and try other things. And of course, Liverpool have made a number of signings in those attacking areas over the course of this summer. So maybe he was thinking game time might not be quite as much as I'd like, particularly when you're fighting against the likes of Hugo Ekitike and Florian Wirtz, who in a combined package are around £200 million of outlay for Liverpool. He probably thought, actually, now is the right time for me to move on. He joined Liverpool for £37.5 million in January 2022. So this would represent, once again, a huge profit for Liverpool. They do so much good business, don't they? And just a couple of details that have come to me whilst we've been stood here, actually, listening to Jess, is that Liverpool have arrived in Tokyo and Luis Diaz is with the first-team squad. So gives you an indication that whilst the two clubs are talking, he's not being sent for a medical in Germany as of yet. So Liverpool arrived in Tokyo and that deal worth around 75 million euros, which is about 66 million pounds.
Now, dare I ask, we've been talking a lot about a certain Alexander Isak. He's made it seem pretty clear that he sees his future away from Newcastle. Feels like he has an eye on one club in particular, Liverpool. Could this deal, with Luis Diaz departing, mean there is space and room for Alexander Isak at Liverpool?
Well, at the moment, Liverpool have Hugo Ekitike, Darwin Núñez and Luis Diaz as the three number nines. He's obviously more of a false nine, someone that can play out wide, but was used quite a lot by Arne Slot as that false nine throughout the course of the Premier League last season. So therefore, there is a little bit of a gap. But does it mean that Liverpool go and spend what would be a huge Premier League record to go and get someone like Alexander Isak? We'll just have to wait and see. But this is a huge void. And Arne Slot is going to want to make sure he has a strong squad because they've got a Premier League title to try and defend. They'll have Champions League football. They want to try and get to the latter stages of those competitions in the Cup as well. So you'd imagine Liverpool's spending hasn't finished just yet. But Alexander Isak, whilst he has been on their radar, there was that informal inquiry to Newcastle United, which was rebuffed. Be interesting to see what they do now. But certainly the interest in a player of his quality doesn't disappear over the course of a week. They will probably be still huge admirers of Alexander Isak.
Yeah, like most of Europe, I can imagine, Mark, a quality player. Look, this has also been talked about quite some time, the finances. We know Liverpool spent close to £300 million already in this window. Can you just break it down how they can afford to do this and still can afford to go in for Alexander Isak? And I believe, regardless of Luis Diaz leaving, they might still be able to make that deal happen.
Yeah, so obviously Luis Diaz on the verge of leaving Liverpool at the moment, and for 75 million euros, around 66 million pounds, that would be a huge injection of cash into the accounts at Liverpool Football Club, who are run very, very well by FSG. Now, when you actually break down their spending over the course of this summer, whilst the total potential outlay is just under 300 million, their net spend at the moment is around 200 million. If you add in the 66 million they get from Luis Diaz, that takes their net spend in this summer's window to around £150 million. Bearing in mind they only spent 10 million last summer, 150 million over 2 summers is actually 75 million per summer. So therefore, Liverpool's spending, whilst it looks quite exuberant at the moment, it's actually not when you look at the bigger picture. Now, they're a club that turns over 600 million pounds a year, so therefore they generate a lot of cash. They're very clever with the player sales that they make, the likes of Jarell Quansah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Nat Phillips, as well as Luis Diaz as well. Therefore, the money they're bringing in, they're just recycling it really smartly, spending money, and therefore they have a lot of PSL headroom. So it's actually not a problem for them to spend this kind of money. The fact that they're getting in a huge chunk of cash for Luis Diaz just makes things a lot more comfortable, but it certainly doesn't affect their ability to spend moving forward.
And a new kit deal with Adidas for 10 years that starts start of August. Frightening prospect for everybody in the Premier League.